What? Alright, okay. Back to the grind. Hey Dungeoneers, it's your friendly Dungeon Master Peter, and welcome finally to another episode of D&D with me. Yeah, it's been a while. Got caught up in some stuff, maybe the ethereal plane, we're not too sure. But we're back, and we're in the lair. Welcome to the new lair. It's in its second iteration. Don't worry about that. We're just not going to open it until later. For some of you that are new here, I am Peter. I'm a Dungeon Master, and this channel is all about running the game the way I do, and world building, and anything else that's really TTRPG. So if you're interested in that, please hit the subscribe button. Alright, so let me ask you something. Have you ever had the players turn down a proposition to save a town from an upcoming goblin raid? Because, you know, there wasn't enough gold in it? I have. Do you ever think about what happened to that village after the party turned them down? Was it burnt to the ground? Was just the local lord killed? Were all the firstborns taken in some biblical way? So in this video, we're going to go over a few tips on how I track world-changing events in my D&D sessions. Now, this could be something that is brought on by player actions or something that is completely out of their control. But before we start, I want to know how you keep track of everything in your campaigns. Write them in the comments below. How do you keep track of world events or big life-changing things that happen to the player to make sure that they come back to it later? Oh, it's been a while, so let me just stretch here and get into the meat of this. Let's just clear a few things up first. This add-on of world building is really dependent on the type of campaign you're running. This is something good to use for big events with a lot of moving parts, like a politically driven war between two political powers. You want to know what's happening on either sides of the front that you can inform the players when they're in opposing territories, let's just say. And also, my personal favorite, if your players have allies or family members in far-off places of the world that they're in contact with sparingly, you're going to want to have some updates to give them if they message them and it's not the same thing that they just went to the market for the 5th time in a row. Now, where I think this wouldn't work is really in those streamlined campaigns where they're just racing toward the end goal to get that treasure, to kill that dragon. You know, one of those quick 1 shots, 2 shots, maybe 4 shots. I don't know how many shots, but... Now you might be thinking to yourself, Peter, why do you track everything in your campaign? Isn't that a lot of work? Well, yeah, it is, and it isn't. I'll show you some ways that I take care of it a little bit later, but if your goal is to create a living, breathing world outside of your campaign, you need to track the events going on outside of it, at least the big ones. Let's use this as an example. If your players mess up a town, they shouldn't be welcomed back in the next time that they go in. They should either be chased out or thrown in jail. You want your players to have consequences to their actions. Think of it like a butterfly effect. I think we know where a butterfly flaps its wings and there's a hurricane somewhere else. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Tell me if I'm wrong. And once you start bringing this into your campaigns and use it more often, and you bring the consequences of the players' actions to them, the players might think twice or actually be genuinely curious what happened to that town because I didn't help them. Aside from world building on the DM side, it's also a great role-playing opportunity for the players. For instance, in the live stream Dungeons, Dragons, and Dice campaign I'm a part of, the players met this elderly explorer that was lost in a jungle. They agreed to help him and bring him back out of the jungle to civilization so he could get home, all while regaling him of the Yuan Ti battle they just had in a temple. Well, I believe it was 43 campaign days later, the players came back and read a newspaper and saw that that explorer created a book by making himself the hero of the book, and he was saving them. Now, were they going to find that newspaper? Maybe. It just so happened a role-playing opportunity presented itself, and the players took it hook, line, and sinker. Now they're pissed off. They want to meet this guy and approach him and say, dude, we did this. So thinking of consequences to players' actions or tracking world events is all well and good, but where exactly do you put it down? Let me show you. So what I do to track all potential events in and outside of the campaign is simple in 2 steps. First, you're gonna have to take active notes during a session. I usually do it during a break, but I write down anything that is a ripple. Yeah, I'm gonna use the word ripple. That would have an effect in the world. Second, you're gonna create a living document. Doesn't matter where, book, Google Drive, Messenger, Raven. And you're gonna keep track of all the ripples and the effects of those ripples in the document. And when you're done, simply put a note, updated on this day. Now you might be thinking to me,
yeah, why the frick am I doing this?
So let's go over the benefits of this. I mentioned this before earlier on in the video, but it helps create a living, breathing world and gives consequences, can't say consequences to our players' actions. It makes it as though the world is still going without them being there and you're not hitting pause the moment they leave a town. The living document should always just help you keep track and remember. And lastly, even if your players don't ask questions or ever return to a place that they destroyed, you can use that for another campaign. This creates a ongoing world that the previous players in campaign 1 affected campaign 2. I've done this on multiple times where the first people to playtest in my homebrew world of Aslos have affected things all the way to our live stream Dungeons, Dragons, and Dice. And for all you non-homebrewers out there, I just want to let you know that you can also use this in pre-built campaigns. If you're going from session to session and trying to think of how players would react, or how the NPCs would react, you can do exactly the same. I don't know why I did this. Alright Dungeoneers, it's that time to recap the video. Why would you be event tracking? Well, it's for campaigns that have a lot of moving parts, like a war or a political situation. You want to make it that the world is constantly moving and changing without the player's actions, or in response to the player's actions. The goal here is to create a living, breathing world. Take active notes during your session and bring those over to the living document that you created to track all world events. And remember, your players' actions have consequences, good or bad. And that's it for me, Dungeoneers. It's fantastic to be back. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch. You can also see me live streaming some world building on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/thedirtwood. Remember, if you can't talk D&D with anybody, you can always talk D&D with me. Now, I know there is a kobold or something around here, so I gotta go take care of that. Alright, folks? See ya. Bye.
Get back here!